back in the house, and what's cracking Dollyverse? For me, my latest acquisitions are the second wave of the Barbie Looks dolls, which I promise to show you guys a close-up look at, along with the other dolls from this collection. Right now you're watching Broken Dolly TV. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, then make sure you do that before the end of this video, because you're gonna regret it if you don't. My name's Gypsy, and we're going to jump into this video. We're doing a Sculpt study as requested by many of you. We're going to do a specific Barbie Looks edition, including the complete first and second wave of dolls. So we're just going to take a look at each doll close up. Every doll in this line is featuring a brand new head sculpt, although one of them I think is a little bit cheating, because we did see this head sculpt used in a different, like a very limited edition doll that wasn't just available to the public. But nonetheless, these head sculpts are firstly used on these dolls for public consumption, put it like that. So we're going to start with number one. This sculpt is being called Lena, and she is, in this version, she is rocking a Hispanic tannish kind of a skin tone. So let's get a closer look at her features. I'm gonna try and find a blank head sculpt mold so you guys can see how that looks next to this head. These dolls would be really great dolls to use as a blank canvas for repaint, I think. Very realistic features translate good on them, just the way that the faces are shaped. They're very realistic looking, like you could imagine a real human being's face could look like these sculpts. Okay, this is model number 2. Her head sculpt is called Elle. This one is probably one of the most popular of the Barbie Looks dolls, because her face is one of the most realistic looking sculpts I've seen in a long time. For a playline level doll, like this is, of course these are not playline dolls, but I mean like price wise, it's not a high end kind of a doll, and she's got a very realistic face sculpt. I'm just really blown away by the way that this sculpt looks. They did such a good job of the face up for this doll. Her lips are like a little bit shimmery, and they're not one of those crazy bright neon colors that they love to do with the darker skin tone dolls, Mattel. And her eyeshadows are like earth tones, bronzy, very like metallic-y gold. I like all the colors that they used with her face. It's not just boring and plain looking, but also it's not over the top. So I think they did a really excellent job. This one is the doll that came with the afro hairstyle. However, I did end up straightening my doll's hair because I wanted to see how long the length was from the afro. So that's why her hair looks quite different than how she's supposed to look. I don't know who this face sculpt resembles in the existing sculpts that we know of that Barbie already has released, but I mean, it's a very unique sculpt. The shape of the nose just looks so accurate to a lot of females that I know who are black girls, and I love the way that they gave her like these juicy lips without going overboard. These lips actually remind me a lot of the Selma sculpt and the shape of her lips, which are my favorite thing about that doll's sculpt. I love Selma's head sculpt so much. I think that would be a good comparison for the sculpt Elle. Next, we have model number 3 from the first wave, and this one is called Kit. Kit is definitely a brand new sculpt. I don't know for sure that they sculpted this head specifically to accommodate Asian features, or they turned the sculpt into Asian features. Like sometimes Barbie will do that. Like for example, the Leah sculpt and the Kira sculpt, normally they do face-ups that look Asian with those head sculpts. So it's almost like they're specifically made to resemble Asian women's features. Like for example, the Billy sculpt, which is supposed to be a black girl's face sculpt, but they gave her an Asian face up and made her look like an Asian girl. It's an interesting thing to think about. I do think she definitely is a believable Asian face, and that it can fit many different types of Asian people's features, I'm so excited to see this face on other skin tones, what kinds of other features we could get out of this mold, because it's a very versatile looking mold to me. I think she would be cute with all different kinds of hairstyles and skin tones for sure. What do you guys think? And do you guys think that the kit sculpt looks like an existing doll sculpt that people have overlooked or maybe just aren't noticing? Drop it in the comments if you think that Kit resembles anyone that we already have seen in the Barbies in the past. I wish that she had longer hair because I'm really wondering how she might look with some length to her hair. I think she'd be really cute. I'm not gonna sweat it with this doll. Sometimes I get really tempted to try my hand at re-rooting some dolls from this line. Guys, I know I can do it because I've done reroots before, but I'm just so lazy about it. Like, I don't want to do it. Okay, so I don't know. It's just such a shame. Sometimes I'm just like, so much of my talent is going to waste because I'm such a procrastinator. Oh well, maybe someday. Número 4. So, the name of his sculpt is actually John. He is growing on me little by little. I gave him a little bit of a hairline because I didn't like how his forehead was just more like a 7 head. And I think I know what's wrong with his eyes. I think I figured it out, you guys. You can see these little reflections in the doll's eyeballs that are supposed to look like, light bouncing off of your eyes. The 2 white dots there. I think the dot on the bottom, somehow it just doesn't look right. It's too close to his bottom eyelid and it makes him look like an alien just staring off into space. Weird. So I think if I erase that dot right there, the bottom one, he might be okay. So I'm gonna try my hand at that. I'm gonna test it out and see how he looks. It's going to make him look a little more human and a little less reptilian. I'm gonna give it a try and show you guys the befores and afters. Y'all tell me if there's some kind of a difference. This is the one that I saw previously used in a different doll. I don't know if that doll was just like a prototype doll and there was only one available just for their photo shoots by Mattel, or if some limited quantity of those dolls were produced at some point. I have no idea, but nonetheless, I haven't seen anybody posting pictures of that doll in their collection, so I'm just gonna assume it was a one of a kind. This doll has not been released to the rest of us as a face sculpt available on another doll. He's got some really afro looking features. The high cheekbones, the shape of his lips, the way they painted the lips, the toning that they used for the lips, and his nose shape. Like, it's all very African looking. So he definitely could pass for the island guys, the guys from different parts of Africa. I hope people know that Africa is not just one big country, but there's so many different countries, cultures, and languages spoken in Africa. It's an extremely diverse place. Don't group everybody in assuming that they're all supposed to look the same. But this is a great way to diversify your collection for sure. This version of the John sculpt we see with rooted braids there up at the top. Not a big fan of his braids, to be honest, because I think they did not root his hair densely enough in the middle. And it seems like kind of a waste because this is the kind of hairstyle that's so unique on a Barbie doll that I would really love to be able to have him wear his hair down and in different types of ponytails. But I think with the length and the density combo on him is just not quite there. I feel like his braids need to be a little bit longer just for the weight so that it can be worn flat down. Or if it was in like a high ponytail like this, it won't do this number just sticking up in the air. You want the hair to lay down. The length being what it is, I think it contributes to that because this fiber that they use for the braids is really lightweight. The other problem is that the density is not there in the middle of his scalp. So you can't really put his hair down because if you do, you're not going to be able to camouflage all of the open scalp points in his head. It's a little hit or miss with this guy. It takes, I think, a little bit of sprucing and customizing to get him just right, like how you probably would want to keep him long term. Next model is numero 5, number 5. Mattel calls this sculpt Sean. He is really handsome. You know how I feel about typical Ken. He does resemble the current Ken default head sculpt somewhat, but like a more masculine version of him. Like if Ken had a big brother who could fight, this is the guy that he would be. I really like the shape of his lips a lot. I think that he's got some curvature there in the cheekbone area, and he's got a really defined nose. And then his piercing blue eyes with the blonde hair just goes together really well. And I love that they gave him some strong eyebrows. I don't know, he just looks really masculine. Of course, the facial hair helps as well. I do have a version of his head without the facial hair, because I wanted to see what it would look like. And even clean shaven, he's quite handsome. And he doesn't look more feminine without the hair, so I'm happy about that. He does have rooted hair, of course. All of the dolls in this line come with rooted hair. And he has some flocking around his head. And overall, I think he's a really good looking doll. Every time I look at these dolls, I just always think of one of a kind dolls, because I feel like they have this air about them, this vibe on them, where it's almost like Mattel did their own version of what a one-of-a-kind artist would have done to their dolls. That you're gonna hear me talking about how these dolls compare to one-of-a-kind dolls all the time. They just really remind me of something like that, like artist dolls. So I think they're really cool. And we're gonna move on to the next model, and this will be the last one for wave 1. This lady is called Victoria, her sculpt name. And of course, brand new sculpt. We've never seen this on any other dolls. She kind of reminds me a little bit of the Carl head sculpt, where the Lena sculpt reminds me of Carl, but she also reminds me more of the curvy Carl, not necessarily the regular Carl. But the both of them, let me show you how they look next to each other. Yeah, the Victoria sculpt is actually on a tall body as well, so she's like towering over her, kind of. You know, there's a different vibe about the faces. Her face looks a little bit more soft, subtle, I guess, and she has a bit more, I feel like the Lena sculpt has a little bit more defined features and sharper features. But to me, Victoria looks a little bit more like Carl, the traditional Carl, and she reminds me more of the curvy version of Carl. Yeah, so she's got a really interesting face, and I think that I'm not really a big fan of the blonde hair and blue-eyed default Barbie dolls that normally are supposed to be Barbie's actual character. They get on my nerves. I don't know, they just really bore me. This doll with her platinum blonde hair, I think looks really, really cool. She reminds me of like ice cubes, just cold weather and snow. All the dolls in this line kind of remind me of like cold temperatures for some reason. Is it just me? I don't know. That's just like the vibe that I got when I saw them. I was just like, yeah, these guys are like ice. So just a very frosty vibe about them. I tried to dress her in an outfit that kind of reflected her natural color scheme of the blue and the white. So I actually want to show you guys this one compared to one of the other ones from wave 2, but we're gonna get there soon. So we'll jump over to the next wave of dolls, which is the second wave, and we've got model number 7, 8, and 9 in that lineup. Then we're back to the petite sized doll. For the first time, we've got her in this chocolate skin tone. She's got like a milk chocolate kind of a skin tone. I would compare the skin tone very closely to the Made to Move Barbie yellow top, but lately, you guys, the Made to Move dolls have been being produced with a lot of in-between skin tones, and the same with the fashionistas. So I feel like, you know, you kind of have to play it by ear, trying to mix match heads and bodies these days, because we don't have definitive skin tones that are like one shade. It's like some of the dolls have a slightly off shade from another wave of dolls or a different collection of dolls with Made to Move bodies. So just keep that in mind. It doesn't have to be completely exact. You just want the hues to be very close together, even if the shades are a little bit off, it's okay. This is a brand new head sculpt. They named this one Tamika, and she looks like a Tamika for sure. She's got some interesting features. Love the lips. Did a side by side with her and my BMR 1959 petite doll with the Claudette sculpt. And so you guys can look at the pictures that I have posted here in our community tab as well as on Instagram. They look similar, but it's a definite difference. You can tell the difference between these two sculpts. She's got more like a triangular kind of a face, like a upside down triangle kind of. Her face shape really reminds me of like a guitar pick. And the Claudette doll, her face sculpt is a little bit different. She has a more angular like jawline. Her jaw is a little bit more squared off than this doll's pointy chin. So they look different, and then they have, you know, lips that kind of poke out, but the shapes of the lips are also quite different. Guys, this one, she really impressed me. I liked the way that they did the makeup on this doll. Like, wave 2 is a little different because the girls have a little bit more intense makeup on. They didn't do an over-the-top job with the makeup. It looks believable. It looks like something a real person would do with their makeup. At the same time, it still doesn't look boring. So I love the combination of colors that they used for her eyeshadow. They gave her some arched eyebrows without making her look mean. And the lip color is really subtle, but also just enough of a gloss there for it to look like she actually has something on her lips. Let's talk about her hair, can we please? Because it needs to be talked about. This doll disappointed me when I first saw her out of the box because the hair on the doll does not look like the hair on the box. So I was trying to debate whether or not I wanted to give her the big bouncy curls that she has in the promo shots. And I was gonna do that, but I just started thinking, like, I wonder what it would look like if her curls were smaller. They've loosened up a little bit because I've been like pulling on them every day to stretch the curls out. You can see down here the tighter curls that I hadn't quite reached yet. But yeah, so I did this to her hair with a boil set and using straws, and I used not standard size straws, but I actually wrapped her hair in the skinny straws that you use for stirring coffee. Those straws got me this size curl, and I think it turned out really gorgeous. People were talking about the baby hairs, and they were saying how they were getting tired of seeing the baby hairs. It's too much, it's over the top. And her baby hairs, I did a comparison to the Claudette sculpt from the BMR line as well, and they're almost identical. So I'm sure they came from the same template. I don't know how they apply these, whether they use a stamp or some kind of digital machine or something. But to me, she looks like one of these makeup guru girls, the hair guru girls on YouTube that always have tutorials on how to put on the lace front wigs. And they be getting so into it, so intricate with all their techniques. Like, she like slayed one of these lace front wigs and melted her edges down into her scalp. And she just working her lace front. Her hair is really interesting too, color wise, because in the promo shots it looks like it's just red hair, but she does not have red hair. Her hair is mixed with many different tones. There's a distinct purple hue in there somewhere, and she's got the red color and like an orangey kind of a tint in there. I don't know exactly what all the colors are, but there's multiple colors in her hair, y'all. You can't really see it in the pictures a lot of times just because of the lighting, but your eyes can see it up close, and with the proper bright light, you can definitely access those colors on screen. And my camera is picking it up right now because I have some light shining on her, but I mean, when the lights are off, you can't really tell. So her hair is so interesting up close. Now, the boxed hair, the way that it comes, mind you, there is no product in the hair. It is very soft. You could get away with giving her just a simple boil wash, and some of the curls will probably bounce back into the hair just off a couple of dips into the hot water and kind of revive it, but it's not gonna look like it does on the box Like, let's not play ourselves. So just as is, her hair is really not bad. It's pretty and it's thick, but just because I was already spoiled by the look, the sleekness of the look that I saw on the box, I just wanted to do something different with the hair, because to me it just looked really unkempt and bushy and wild, right? But it is really pretty hair, so don't let that deter you from purchasing this doll. If you're like, girl, I ain't got time to be curling up all this hair, I feel you, bro. You can keep her the way that she comes out of the box and it should be just fine. I'm just picky, that's all. My OCD kicked in. This is the last of the girls in the series so far. This sculpt is called either Andra or Andra. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Maybe you can get away with calling it both. I really love that name. I'm kind of disappointed that this is the first time I came across the name because it's a really cute name. I almost contemplated keeping the name for her, but I had to change it, you guys. I've never seen this face before. Not sure exactly who she reminds me of, if anyone at all. Leave it in the comments if you think she reminds you of an existing sculpt that maybe I just missed, but I can't think of it, you guys. Now, her makeup is probably my favorite. I love this color combination of purple and green next to each other. She's got a little bit bolder color on her lips. Let's talk about her skin tone just for a second. We're gonna get more in depth about skin tones in another video, but just for the sake of this one, I saw people like asking about these two. Honestly, they look like they could be sisters or relatives to me. The color scheme of the dolls are almost identical. Like, their hair is the same color. Their skin tone is the same color. I don't know if you can tell on camera if one looks a little different than the other one, but in person, I'm telling you, they are the same exact color. The model number 6 doll is taller than model number 8. Number 8 is on a regular original sized body, and that's the only real difference between these two dolls. So if you were looking for a brand new skin tone in this next wave, unfortunately, I don't think that you're getting one when it comes to her. I wish that they had done something different with the skin tone for this one, honestly, because I do like her the way that she is, but just because the first wave already had this tone, to me it's really not enough that she's just on a different type of body. I need a whole brand new shade, man. I don't know, I just feel like you know what skin tone I wish they would bring back? The very first wave of made to move dolls, when they had the yoga doll with the Teresa sculpt, blue top, she had a completely different skin shade than the next wave of blue tops that came out after that one. Like, for some reason they changed it. Like, she became more darker and orangey. Kind of like the Lena sculpt here that we were looking at, model number 1. That skin tone reminds me more of the second wave of made to move blue top dolls. We haven't seen that skin tone on a made to move doll since. I don't know what's going on over there, but I like her face a lot better than I like the Victoria sculpt, to be honest. The Victoria sculpt is very pretty, don't get me wrong, but this one just has a little bit more like personality to it. She looks more alive. Just has a little bit more expression on her face, I think. Also, I've been trying to figure out what's going on with her hair. So the flocking, to me, has like a sparkle, kind of a sheen to it. I compared it next to another one of these dolls that have blonde flocking as well, and his hair was not shiny looking. So I think that on purpose they made her hair look shiny and glittery, but my lens is not really picking it up that good. You can kind of sort of tell, sort of, but you can't really see how it shimmers. In person, I can definitely see it shimmering. So I don't know, is that supposed to be on purpose? Do they have like special flocking that makes your hair look like it's shimmering? This handsome young man is very popular. He's probably the most popular out of the 3 boys in this entire lineup. This guy, they are calling him Cam. I'm calling him Tiago. Everybody says he's supposed to be Native American, and I totally see it, but I was like, I'm gonna make him Portuguese because I like to be original. So he's Tiago, and look at his long hair. He's got a lot of hair rooted all up in there. No bald spots. He's just got a lot of hair on his head. And this guy has such a unique sculpt. Absolutely, I can see why everybody thinks he looks like a Native American guy. There's his profile. His nose is so distinct, like just very, very distinct and pronounced. You can't mistake that nose shape for anyone else's. On my camera, his lips look a lot more glossy and like pinky than they really do in real life, but they are colored and it's like a flesh tone, kind of a pink color, like that guy in the background there. If it bothers you, you can definitely just erase the skin color off of the lips for the boys, and usually you don't have to even fill them in with any other colors. You can kind of just leave them plain and they don't always look bad. So if you want to tint it more with like a brown color, then I would say go with a very, very light, like a tan kind of a color, and work your way to a darker shade if you need to, but you shouldn't. He's got some very bold, distinct eyebrows as well. Not a whole lot going on with the face sculpts for the boys. They're very simple for the most part, but I did notice that they have been giving them lower eyelashes, which is unusual because Barbie normally doesn't give Ken lashes. This guy doesn't have lashes. Isn't that interesting? But he does have an outline under his eye that is very like thick looking. Yeah, so they gave him some shading down there. But other than that, if he's got lashes, then it's really hard to see. Like I'm talking about specifically with the boys. Obviously, there's so much diversity in how Barbie doll's face looks for the girls. But I like that they didn't keep one particular pattern with these guys. They switched it up for each face sculpt. So that really makes them look really unique. And again, this is why I say that this line really reminds me of like a one-of-a-kind doll artist whose work went like mass scale. I'm not gonna lie, this sculpt does remind me of some other faces that I've seen from Mattel that I can't quite put my finger on, like a combination of different sculpts, different parts of sculpts. The jawline, the eyes, the forehead, like just different parts of his face remind me of other existing sculpts that I've seen before. You can see that there's like a little dent in his chin, like he's got almost like a dimple or something there. I can see people adding facial hair to this sculpt, and I'm sure he probably would look really handsome with some facial hair. So I might experiment with mine and give him some facial hair just to see how he will look. And because his hair is rooted and it's so long, you also have tons of options with texturizing the hair, cutting the hair, styling the hair in different ways, and even just keeping it long and doing different things with it. So I really appreciate that they gave us something to work with for the hair here, because I was telling you guys a while ago, like, why don't they root the Ken doll's hair more often? Because it can cost them more to do that for the boys than it does for the girls, that they keep at these low price points of like $8 for fashionistas, even with tons and tons of hair rooted in. Why can't they just do that with the boys too? Like, what is the harm, right? And I feel like we're getting that with this line. So I hope they continue with this. If they decide that they're going to give us more male characters who are supposed to reflect men of color, I would love to see different textures of hair for them, not just with the braids, but like the, you know, almost like you know, the fade, what do you call it, like a box kind of a hairstyle with the afro texture. I would love to see one of those, but rooted. That would be so dope looking. The mohawks, you know, whatever it is that they can come up with. But for like the ethnic boys, I would love to see rooted hair with those textures. Even like a really nice, soft, curly hairstyle for the boys. Like, you know how sometimes you ever see those football players that are like part Samoan or full Samoan guys? Or they're from like different island countries, like the Polynesian guys, and they have the really long curly hair. Like, their hair is so freaking fabulous. I would love to see hair like that rooted into a brown male doll, like somebody with his face, but that hair, oh my gosh, that would be so cute. So yeah, so what did you guys think of our little sculpt study here, getting to know these faces a little bit more up close? And which one is your ultimate favorite one out of all of these dolls, and why? And what are you planning to do with your dolls to customize them and make them your own? Part of the reason why I love to customize my dolls is because I kind of get to be like you know, creative with them, but then also put my stamp on the doll, put my mark on the doll, so that it's no longer Mattel's factory version of the doll, and that makes the doll seem more like it's mine, like it's like my creation that I can interact with, and it's original. So that's my obsession with trying to customize a lot of my dolls, even if it's just as simple as piercing their ears so they can wear earrings, because I feel like earrings are very expressive and a good way to accessorize with your outfits. Even if it's just as simple as adding a little bit of color to the eyelids to make my own custom eyeshadow colors, or drawing on baby hairs and different hairlines. Like, even if it's just one little simple thing like that, I will definitely consider making those kinds of adjustments, because it just really makes the doll kind of come to life for me. But I love that these dolls are so versatile, so diverse looking, so creative looking, and they just reflect actual human beings so much. This is the first time that I owned a full set of dolls from one particular collection thus far. So if they don't come out with any more Barbie Looks dolls, then I can say that I have the complete collection. But I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that they keep this line going for really as long as possible. This is like a fun hobby that I feel like we should be able to enjoy for affordable prices, to kind of relive our childhoods and relieve some stress, right? You guys tell me what you guys think about these sculpts in the comment section. I also want to know, which one do you like the least, if any, and why? I also want you guys to tell me what dolls remind you of other existing head sculpts that we already have seen by Barbie. I'm going to show you guys their skin tones and compare them to some other dolls with made-to-move bodies, so you guys can have an idea of what dolls might match these if you wanted to use them as body donors, which I highly recommend if you can get them at reasonable prices of $20 or cheaper, because that's the retail price. Or if you live in a region where it's like almost impossible for you to get the doll, I would say somewhere between $30 to like even $40 would be reasonable for people who it's just impossible for you to get the dolls at retail where you're at. But anything more than $40, you should be like in love, grail status, if you're gonna spend more than 40 bucks on these dolls before shipping and handling. So just something to think about, you know. But at least with Wave 1, I mean, they're like instant classics. So at this point, it's really 50-50, like how much longer we're gonna see those dolls available, even if it's through third parties. I don't know. I hope that Mattel at least snaps out of it and uses some of these sculpts for upcoming dolls in different series, not just the Barbie Look series, and give them to us in different versions as well for people who missed out on the first wave. Because I feel like if you guys could get a hold of these dolls in other versions and they come with made-to-move bodies, it would still be worth it to get them, even if you missed out on the Wave 1 of these dolls, because you can kind of recreate those looks or customize them to recreate those looks. And nonetheless, I don't think it's so important that the dolls came with whatever clothes they came with. I always look at the doll itself, because I know I'm going to take them out of their original clothes for the most part and put my own spin on the doll and give them their own personality. So I try not to get hung up on the things that they're coming with more than the actual doll itself. So the doll is already beautiful and has the made-to-move joints that you like, and is a decent price, somewhere in the $20 to $30 range, I would say, or even cheaper. Go for it. Even if they don't have the joints that you're looking for, if that face sculpt is just right, get the doll, because you can customize the body later and worry about swapping it out later. Don't let that deter you. So I hope this video helped you guys to get a better idea of what to expect for your Barbie Looks dolls if you are going to be adding these to your collection. And if you were just curious about the head sculpts, well, then we just got a really good look at all of them, right? All right, I'll talk to you guys later, and we'll see you in the next one. Subscribe, like, leave a comment, and share our video so other people can enjoy and learn as much as they can from our resource as well. My name's Gypsie. You're watching Broken Dolly TV, and I'll see you next time. Have a Dolly day. Down, can you really hold me down? Baby, baby, hold me down. Will you really hold me down? My baby, hold me down. Nah, I'm just messing with you.